From your point of view, as an amazing actor yourself, why is Idris so good?
Because
Good morning, Andy.
hello.
You can't leave
roll up.
monster franchise alone, can you? Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, now Luther.
Oh, I know. I mean, it is lovely to team up with Idris, I have to say. He's fabulous.
So you're being pursued, your character's being pursued by Luther, but he's also being pursued as well.
Exactly. He's found himself, of course, the police do get themselves into trouble every now and then. I mean, very rarely, of course. But yes, he ends up he starts off life in this particular iteration of the story in prison.
So what's he banged up for? Can we say what can we say and what can't we say?
I don't know if I can really tell. But well, it's just for several police misdemeanors. Let's just put it like that.
Okay.
It does happen.
It does happen, and then he's sprung, isn't he? Because
Yes.
your character comes on the scene. I mean, jeez, how would you like to give us the elevator picture of your particular character?
Yeah, it's a tricky one because I could go on for days about him. But he is a sort of cyber tech expert. He's made his money in cyber tech and he knows about all things surveillance, how to hack, etc., etc. He's made money probably in crypto and all sorts of, nefarious activities. And he's a very lonely, strange individual who basically cannot connect with humanity other than observing people and watching them. And but also he is a serial killer. So but he also has a completely. He's devoted to the idea of bringing down people who are hypocritical, and he sees John Luther as a hypocrite, as a man who has got a position of power who misuses his power, and he likes to bring down people like that.
So he's a psychopath. So he doesn't have any empathy or compassion with other human beings. I would imagine that's usually one of the definitions of one of the ingredients of psychopath. However, he uses past trauma as an excuse to square the circle, doesn't he? Or square the circles.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's not real trauma. He's just using it as a sort of building block.
Yeah, he manipulates taking people's trauma. It's kind of like...
and he claims to have his own, and this is the reason for him doing something.
I guess so, because you do, I guess, if you're a psychopath, in a way, you have created your own reality, so therefore you believe what you want to believe, and that becomes the world that you've created for yourself.
To justify your own madness.
And he wants to his mission is to create a safe space for other incels and people who feel lonely. And I mean, this whole film actually centres around the notion of what the internet has done to us as a tool, as a creative tool and a powerful tool that brings us all together, democratises, but also at the same time can be used for horrific things. And
because he's this sort of techno genius, because that's obviously garnered and harvested loads of money from everywhere, he cares to use his knowledge or whatever gift it is he's been weirdly dealt. He therefore has infinite resources. So he has all the money in the world. He can out-tech any kind of techie genius, and off he goes. Causing absolute mayhem, including in Piccadilly Circus, which is why I struggled to get to work for 3 days.
Yes, exactly.
Tell everybody about what I'm referring to.
We had this amazing shoot. I mean, shooting at Piccadilly Circus, as you know, is probably the most impossible location to ever get hold of. But we had it for 3 nights, and I think the last time it was filmed was on American Werewolf in London, John Landis's film back in 1970, whatever it was. But it was an extraordinary kind of thing to bring that to bring that place to life and to shoot a really important sequence, which is a very dark sequence. I don't want to give anything away, spoilers, but it's one of the main times there where Luther comes head to head with David Roby, which is the name of my character.
Yeah, and the crowd scenes. So it's like Piccadilly Circus on a Saturday night, but everybody was a paid actor or extra.
Insane.
It was mad.
Yeah, bonkers.
All the traffic, midnight rush hour, all the buses.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff, man.
Yeah. Really exciting. I mean, to make that kind of film in the centre of London, I was blown away by it.
And it wasn't like Good Friday or like, over the Christmas holiday. It was like, it was a few months ago on a normal week. And when you get to a thing, is it chaotic? Because there were hundreds of extras.
This was the most brilliantly executed.
Yeah.
I mean, planned. I mean, the level of planning to go into like doing 3 nights of shooting in Piccadilly Circus is phenomenal. It was one of the most storyboarded sequences, I think. Jamie Payne, the director, did an extraordinary job. But he'd literally cut hundreds of versions of how he was going to shoot that, because once you're on the floor in the middle of all of that, you've got no time.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a few hours to get to marshal, hundreds of extras, as you say. It's a phenomenal.
I don't know how they do it.
achievement.
I don't know how they do it. Obviously, it's Idris's thing. He is John Luther, but you are on screen for nearly as long. I mean, this is a proper co-star thing, isn't it?
It feels like that.
Arch nemesis, and you're there. All the time.
No, he's a phenomenal actor, and in this part, it's absolutely purely his thing. I mean, he owns that character to such a great degree.
Why, from your point of view, as an amazing actor yourself, why is Idris so good?
Because he's in the moment, completely in the moment. I mean, one of the most present actors I think I've ever worked with, in terms of just and also with the character demands that of him. He makes instinctive decisions, so everything is kind of, you think he's going to do that, he does the opposite. It's just like he's so present and powerful, and strong.
He's menacing and gentle.
Yes.
So straight after the Piccadilly Circus scene, which obviously I'm talking about a lot because I feel I own it in some kind of way.
Well, you were part of it in a huge way.
I really
trying to get to work.
If I'd have known, I'd have turned up earlier and been in the crowd scene. Let me tell you. But straight after that, your character runs toward the underground.
Yes.
And John Luther runs after.
Yes.
Dave, and then you dare to have this fight with Idris Elba. Now, you're playing the character, and I just said Idris Elba, and obviously Idris is playing Luther, but it's still, in the end, it's Andy Serkis against Idris Elba. How is that?
Well, he's a kickbox expert. Expert,
and he's totally ripped.
Yeah, and he's ripped, and he's very, very strong. But I gave him as good as.
Yeah, because you're a bit mad as well, aren't you?
I'm a bit mad. I throw myself into things, and we really went at it. And we shot that scene, and it was amazing actually, shooting in the underground tunnels, which are no longer in use.
Right.
They're so spooky.
They're
really, really. I mean, and also there's posters there from literally from going back to 50 years. There was a poster. Really weirdly, there was a poster when Britain were just about to join the EU. That's how long ago it was.
Oh my goodness!
Anyway,
1970 something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But anyway, we went head to head, and I gave as good as I got, and we both, I think, he just said, "You are actually quite strong, actually, Andy, aren't you?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, I am when I'm in character."
What do you want to say about where the movie goes?
Oh wow! Oh gosh!
Or do we not say
it gets
anything?
very dark.
Oh.
It gets very.
What do you mean it gets very dark? It starts at pitch black.
It gets even.
You can't get any.
It does. Sadly.
The absolute zero of dark.
So it gets. Look,
Yes.
Again. It examines the very darkest part of all of the. We've given ourselves to this thing called the internet.
Yeah.
Which can be an amazing thing, and it can be the darkest place on
everything we've ever invented.
Correct, and that I think that it goes to a place where people are using it for the very, very worst reasons, which desensitizes us, and that's again part of what the story is about seeing things which are horrific and actually not feeling anything.
Wow. That's amazing. And again, I ask this now and again, but when it's so extreme, I mean, you out Hannibal Lecter, your character does anyway. Does it have? I mean, what does it do to you as a person?
Again, when you're playing these things, I've played a number of dark characters, and you do come out the other side thinking, why have I gone down that road again? But I think part of the actor's job is to explore on behalf of all of us, to actually take on that mantle, go in there and find it out, and then come back and share the evidence and sort of say, this is what I've found.
Right.
And that's why I do what I do, because I like taking on those challenges.
Wow. Luther, The Fallen Sun, selected cinemas now available on Netflix from next Friday, 10th of March. Cheers, Andy.
Lovely to see you.
You're the best. He's the best.